I was crying a lot. I was out of control.
We were very sad to lose, but we understood the limits of the team at the time, and we were very proud. But also, it was very nice to see another Brazilian get a title.
After that, SI, I think it was a motivated thing to grow as a region and make it through a lot of other tournaments.
At the end of the day, everyone is just friendly. So yeah, we have a very nice relationship.
The friendships run deep and it goes beyond shouting and cheering on stage. You know, all of that is part and parcel of this. It's a respect that is given and earned between these players.
It's an awesome feeling for everyone, you know, not just us. We win for everyone.
Last man alive is Necrox. His MVK is on the floor. It's looking. Oh my God! They did it! They've done it! A double APAC semis.
I remember I looked like this to Kanto and go. I'm like, what is going on? And it's just one of those like, this should not be happening, especially not against such a strong team as EG, and it did.
Fnatic demolish EG with a 2-0. Dizzle takes it.
There's rare coaches that have been able to achieve what he has. That's immensely unusual.
It is Evil Geniuses against Fnatic, a match that any esport would want to have.
Yeah, two big organizations with a ton of history in esports behind them, but one has a bit of a Himalayan mountain, a Herculean task ahead of them.
The night before we were supposed to fly out to Brazil, I get a bit of a stomachache. I try and, take pain medication or something. Nothing works. They run a couple tests on me, and I finally get the news that I have appendicitis and I need to get surgery right away.
He was not able to fly to Rio de Janeiro for the Pro League finals at the time. This is your in-game leader. It's your captain. It's a big, big problem.
The unofficial ruling was to be that we could find a substitute as long as they weren't contracted to an organization and hadn't competed in any of the Pro League circuits around the globe. Yeah, basically we had to make the call, and it's like, look, there's nobody else. I guess I'm just gonna have to play.
Normally when a coach has to become a player, we're always thinking that's gonna go terribly wrong. And to make things worse, Dizzle came from Xbox or console, so he didn't play with mouse and keyboard before.
It is interesting, though, when you have the coach playing, because he's potentially coaching in real time, especially as they've lost their IGL.
It had been almost 2 years since I played competitively, but that having been said, I generally always had a competitive spirit and I have nerves of steel.
And Dizzle will clutch it! Fnatic to take the third round!
Dizzle, in that event, was called Disgod from that moment on.
Round 4 for Fnatic, and APAC 2 rounds away!
I knew he was a good player on Xbox, but I knew he knew how to play the game. I just didn't know if he was mechanically up there, and obviously he was apparently.
We knew if we're going to win, it has to be on Oregon, and the call came out and just said, guys, we need to get out there, need to give them pressure, just don't let them get comfortable, don't let them execute.
I'll never forget Aces bringing FO12 Ella and jumping out the window on Oregon from Armory, and then, getting 3 kills and finishing up the game practically for his team.
Last man alive is Necrox. It's looking, oh my God, they did it! They've done it! They've done it! Fnatic demolish EG with a 2-0.
Look at that, they can't believe it. We can't believe it. The crowd can't believe it. And they just got destroyed by APAC.
It definitely sucked not being there, but I just thought it was great that the guys won without me and they won with Diz.
I just couldn't believe it. The crowd went up, and I'm just sort of sitting there going, is this real? And then to have all the thousands and thousands of Brazilian fans chanting and stuff. We've never had so much support before. It was absolutely incredible.
W7M as well as Falcons have now both qualified for phase 2 through that upper bracket. We're now going to be heading into our final best of 3s of the play-in stage here at the Major, and it's going to be starting off with the best of 3 of Wolves up against Donut Barrel. Now, these two teams both have to fight it out because for one of them, it's going to be their last game here in Copenhagen. If you're wondering how we got here, let's have a look at the bracket, starting off specifically with Group A. Now, that's the group that we've just seen, and Falcons coming out on top through that upper bracket, Sandbox dropping to lower bracket, and they're going to be heading up against M&M in the final best of 3 here of Phase 1 at the Major. Looking at Group D, which is the group where we're looking at the moment, the game that's now going to be going live, Wolves up against Dona Varrel. W7M, they've qualified through the upper bracket, they've played their 2 best of 1s, and they're absolutely chilling, but both of these teams have a shot at redemption and a shot at heading into Phase 2. Now, I'm Ginny, your host, and host does not include caster, but luckily for you, we do have casters once again, and it's going to be lovely Mandy and Dev. How are you guys doing?
I'm doing well. I'm really excited. We had a day off yesterday, which was devastating because I just want to be talking about Rainbow Six. So now we're back, and I'm keen to see who gets eliminated in this game.
Well, lovely to have you both back. I'm gonna give it to you guys immediately. You can do it. Take it away.
Thank you very much, Ginny. Mandy, one of these teams is going to get sent home. We've already seen Wolves play this morning, and it's actually a rematch here, Varrel Wolves, of a game that we did just the other day. I think you pointed out before. It's the most recent game we've actually casted.
It is an exact rematch, and for us, a bit of deja vu here on the caster desk. It was the last one that we casted, but I think it's going to be of a very different light. A lot more pressure now with elimination on the line.
That's right, and of course, we're playing a best of 3 now compared to the best of 1 that we played at the start of the bracket. Elimination or qualification is the name of the game here, and for Wolves, really, it's been quite a story throughout EUL this year. Right at the bottom, they landed after the league finished. They went through the LCQ, and they absolutely smashed it. Varrel, as well, also came through their own LCQ with Japan, but let's have a look at the battlefield for today. Where will we be playing for this BO3? And Kafe, Chalet, and Villa, so no clubhouse rematch, Mandy.
Yeah, exciting though. I think this is going to be such a great match. I think Wolves having Kafe go through is a big map for them. I really like the way that they play Kafe. I think it's got a lot of innovation to it. And for Varrel on Chalet, I think they've also got a bit of history on that map too. So I think that both these teams have banned to their strengths. Keep in mind that banning for a best of 5 is a completely different beast to banning for a best of 1. So I think just initial look at the veto would indicate to me that I think both these teams are comfortable on their map, although Wolves, I feel like, will still edge out on top.
Yeah, I will say if there's something going for Varrel on Kafe, it's the fact that if we look back, these guys defeated Scars, the best team from Japan, on Kafe not long ago in the Japan League. So there is at least something to cling on to here for Japanese fans, because there really has not been a lot to cling on to for Japanese or APAC fans in general throughout the tournament. Intero was saying during the previous match, every team to be eliminated so far from the play-ins of the Major has been from APAC. Varrel now staring down the barrel of being the next in line to be sent home, and it's a Herculean task ahead of them to take down the Wolves.
Oh, it's going to be such an exciting series. I just know it's going to be. I think that the maps that we have been taken to are going to be such a treat to watch, Dev. They're none of your checklisty, step-by-step kind of maps. It's going to be pure chaos. I feel like the nature of them really leans into the play style of both of these teams. I feel like we're going to see the attackers really run circles around the defense. It's going to be a lot of innovation and exciting stuff.
Yeah, very much so. I think everyone loves about Varrel is their energy and their heavy execute, like their Glaz Ying playstyle. Now, Wolves, very clever ban from them to get rid of the Ying. People don't want to play against Varrel or Japanese teams in general when that Ying is on the board. They're also going to get rid of the Solus. So, Mandy, for now, the Azami has been left in. And with Varrel starting on the defense, they get the choice of whether they want to keep that incredibly powerful operator for reconstructing Piano and the bomb sites on the board, or if they want to ban it out, which is what they're going to do here. No Azami and no Solus for the defense.
Honestly, I think a ban, especially against Wolves. The last time that we saw these two play against each other, it was on Clubhouse, and we saw the power of the Azami in the hands of Wolves. It was being rotated between Bibu and P4, the big leadership figures on the team, on the defense, and it really shut out Varrel through that mid to late round and cost them so many executes, which is their playstyle, like you alluded to earlier. So I think taking out the Azami, especially on a map like Kafe, is a very good ban.
Well, Wolves will be beginning on the attacking side. Varrel started on attack last time these teams played each other back on Clubhouse, and we saw half of Varrel's attack rounds, they went for rushes, and only one of those 3 rushes was successful. Varrel really struggled on their attacking side. They went 5-1 down. So a smart move here from Varrel to choose to start on the defensive side here. But nonetheless, it is Wolves' map pick. and I have full faith that they will be prepared for these attacks. Though we are starting for somewhat of an unusual bomb site choice. We're going to Fireplace and Mining, which you don't see every day. It's at least played bomb site on Kafe.
Yeah, by far and away, I think this one is the least fashionable, like we said, bomb site of the 4 here on Kafe, but has come into light in recent times. I think that as the meta has changed, and especially with things like Azami coming in, which is unfortunately banned out here, I think that a lot of the sites are now a lot more viable for the defense. So, oh, there we go. Quick peek from Kawa is not successful as Mowgli's able to take him down, and that's the first one going in the way of Wolves. But as we were saying earlier, I think that Varrel having banned out Azami and Solus will be an interesting problem for them to solve. I think that it does leave a lot of things open for Wolves, and we can see there Varrel trying to do something special to supplement that.
Mowgli has had a phenomenal season so far, despite Wolves struggling in the EUL. Mowgli was phenomenal. Absolutely farmed in those LCQs. We've seen Bibu as well be fantastic so far. Mowgli's now on the entry. Not a lot of ammo left, but he manages to take down Renzo. 2 opening kills now for Wolves for Mowgli as Okamesh is the next line of defense. He whiffs some shots and he doesn't have time to switch to his secondary. It's devastation now for Varrel as they try and claw something back, but with Akayu, the only player left up for the Japanese squad, and P4, the only one who's taken damage for Wolves, I just don't see this happening.
Nah, I reckon this one is a done deal for Varrel. Unfortunately, like you said, the only down player, P4, not even a casualty, will be fine with a whole minute and 40 seconds left to go. Look, if there's any gun to 1-on-5 with Dev, it is the Elder. There are a lot of bullets in this gun, although Akayu's a bit slow, so it's not like he can make some big sneaky plays because he's quite loud. He's not very fast.
Oh, he's even louder now that the Logic Bomb is ringing on out, and he's found the first kill. It's Mowgli. That's a guy you want to take down. Been on a tear so far. Okay. I love that little crossfire looking through the drone hole and the player on the vert. Well played there from Wolves. And a fairly simple, fairly cut and dried opening round.
Yeah, good stuff from Wolves. Mowgli really made a dent into the second floor of the map as he took down the initial spawn peak and was able to piggyback off the control that he had to get inside of exit and find the second one onto Rento. And then I think from there, it really collapsed for Varrel as they were not able to claw themselves back with the gunfights and just didn't quite go their way. And it was really over after that, and Wolves pick up a first clean round.
It's interesting to me that Varrel aren't going up to that top floor first, and I think it mostly relates to what you were talking about before with that Azami ban. It is a bit difficult to know how to play Kafe when you don't have your Azami, you don't have your Solus. You have to get a little bit more creative. You can't create that fortress inside of Piano like so many teams like to do. And so after Fireplace Mining didn't work out, they're actually going to go down to the basement, or ground floor, if you will, kitchen, cooking bomb site. And I honestly think this is going to be a pretty challenging set of defenses on the half for Varrel. I think it's just going to be really tough to find somewhere to build up some confidence.
I think it will be as well. I think that we often say on Kafe, there are sort of 2 ways to play Kafe these days. You either play it with Azami and you play things really close, or you play stuff without Azami and you play stuff kind of far, long line to sight, whatever it might be. And that's just where I really think that the Brava actually comes in handy, because when you're playing more disconnected from your utility, it's suddenly more accessible to the Brava player, right? When you're playing close, you're playing right next to your ADSs, right next to your Malusis, whatever. Whereas when you're playing these long lines of sights and more extended holds, Brava really comes into play, and that's what we're seeing P4 do right there, able to take down a Valkyrie camera inside of this VIP side of the ground floor. And it's going to enable his team to hop in safely. Mowgli just outside the door as well, but Kawa can take down at least one of those clutch drones.
And also takes down Deadshot. So great start. Now Mowgli did manage to... Oh, sorry. Mowgli is now watching the camera, but P4 just managed to hack that camera in time. Unfortunately, though, he's lost both of his clutch drones now. Mowgli looking to get some information off that, and that's great use of the Brava to help get that kill. Looking for a second now, but taking a bit of damage. Akayu inside of the closet as the nade comes through. That might finish him off. No, it doesn't take any damage, and Okamesh has found Bibu elsewhere. This is getting very awkward now with the smoke to shut out Mowgli. Wolves are desperately looking for a way in.
Man advantage, though, in the favor of Varrel as Akayu can safely come back into the bomb site. Wolves don't seem all that interested in clearing the floor above them, and that means that they are, in fact, vulnerable to the vertical. 2 players above on the second floor will mean that P4, as he creeps in through this hallway, will have to be careful as he approaches the bomb site.
Oh, wow, the late reinforcement as well. from Varrel. That's very cheeky. And now Shinka is forced to use up some X-Kairos to open up this line of sight. I really like the way that Varrel just peeled back the layers of the defense there.
Yeah, not just that, but it's also forcing Mowgli to try and put some pressure up around the stairs area to see if he can get the cutoff on the defenders upstairs playing that vertical. But as the time ticks away, there's still some effort for Wolves as they try and claw their way into the bomb site. Intel aplenty as Shinka will get one of his drones in.
You can see Wolves are still concerned about this roam, and it is Renzo upstairs. He finds one. Mowgli eventually gets the down. Can confirm the kill as well. 40 seconds left, but still fighting from behind are the French. Just Shinka and Mowgli left to boot. And there's some fantastic fortified positions on site, though this nade could make a difference. It doesn't destroy the shield or take down the player, but Shinka with a sharp shot will be able to do so. Mowgli has repositioned, and he's in a great spot to make this work. The flash is to go out, the execute has to come now. Shinka crosses, but not successfully. DD might have saved the round here, and Okamesh to find Mowgli and find the first round here for Varrel.
Good work from Val. They remain composed as Wolves try to surround themselves on the ground floor. They didn't actually end up clearing that room, and like you said, it sort of came back to bite them as the tussle came through to the late round on the brown stairs. I think off the back of that, just unfortunately, Wolves lost a little bit too much manpower, I think, to accumulate what was a good execute, more linear, of course, to that eastern side of the map, and as a result, Varrel remained composed and take that first round.
I like the roam game from Rento as well. Really put that pressure all the way up into the late round onto Wolves. You can see Wolves, they really good at changing their tactic and changing their push mid-round, adjusting to the way that their opponents are playing. But this energy from Val, we've seen a lot from them before, and it really took them through the match against Bliss, helped them come out of that 3-mapper.
Is that an otter? That's so cute. Sorry.
Was there an otter?
Yeah. Oh, someone has an otter on their monitor. That's very cute.
Well, the Rubik's Cube is back out again, and Okamesh is farming as usual. I have no idea how he does it.
I feel like it's like a pattern, right?
Oh, well,
like,
I mean, yeah, there's an algorithm, but I mean, I was more just saying that for effect.
I feel like this is the thing that you know how to do. I'm surprised that
Really?
you tried this. Yeah, this feels like a very Def Mata skill to have,
I
you know?
tried Rubik's Cubes, but I didn't want to look up.
Yeah, otter. I don't know. Anyway, sorry.
We're playing otter spotting now.
Yeah.
The Rubik's Cube takes the spotlight, though.
So you've tried it?
I have tried it, but I didn't want to look up there are a couple of different algorithms that you can apply. There's the otter.
There it is! Carl's otter. Is that even an otter? Do I know anything about...
I don't know, it could be a bit of a bear. It is an otter, apparently.
Otter.
Confirmation
That's so
from
cute.
OBS.
That's adorable. Oh.
I do love that.
Oh wow, they're
It's really soft toy central here, isn't it? Both teams have got all kinds of mascots.
I really want one of those M&M marshmallows. Those are the cutest.
Yes.
They've got little headbands and they're smiley and stuff. That's so good.
Playing with the otter? No? Wow. At least these guys are keeping high spirits during the game. I will say, it's one thing I've really been impressed by both of the Japanese teams that we've seen here in the play-ins, Varrel and Northeption, who unfortunately have now been knocked out.
Oh, there's a wolf. There's a wolf for the Wolves.
That makes a lot of sense, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I love that the energy you see from these Japanese teams. For Wolves, it's very much just, another day in the office, just chill out, They got their game faces on, they got their poker faces on. Very different spirits to Varrel, who are very happy to be here, who are having a laugh.
Very good. Oh,
Very
look at him go. I wonder if Okamesh has solved his Rubik's Cube. Surely they're like back in the lobby and oh, he's still going. It's not over yet.
I think he solves it and then he immediately just messes it up again. He's farming, he's tea hunting when it comes to Rubik's
Oh, he
Cubes.
did. Oh, right, you're right. Yeah,
He keeps solving it and
he
then
solves
messing it up
and then
again
goes
and
for it
solving it.
But like, does it make a difference if you like shuffle your own Rubik's Cube, Because like, what if you shuffle your own Rubik's Cube as just like an inverse of the way that you solved it, right?
Is that a metaphor for life,
like,
Mandy? I feel like you're making some kind of deep...
Like you have to like create your own adversity. Like, is that what you're saying? Like,
we need some inspiring music in the background. Keep going. Create your own adversity. Yeah, keep going.
I can't think of anything beyond that. That just seems fake. No one would do that to themselves, right? Anyway, life philosophy over. Back into game we go. We should really not do philosophy on these casts. I think we did it on the last one as well. It's really bad. Anyway. top floor. I think, like you pointed out earlier, Noah's Army does mean that playing this hard-holding piano is like a bit less viable, right? So they're going to be leaning into these backstore, timbers, cocktail positions, playing the long lines of sight instead.
And I'm going to be constantly looking out for how Wolves are deciding to attack these sites, because we've seen that they like to mix things up a little bit. You mentioned the Brava last round. I really enjoyed that, though it was to mixed success. I like that Wolves are a team that's always wanting to innovate.
10 seconds remaining.
Wolves deciding to do a couple of picks off. I think that going on CIQ is a good one for Shinka, choosing not to bring along any hard breach, but meaning that they can see those Valkyrie cameras of Kawa. Previously, they were hacked by the Kludge drone, but this time they need another means of seeing them. Kawa's actually going to use his final Valkyrie camera, although it will go offline in a few moments to at least see what he might be able to collect on a run out.
He's already done this run out before in the first round. He died. This time, he just doesn't make the run. So Wolves are playing that really well. Shinka knows the perfect way to counter that spawn. He knows exactly when to peek. He knows the timing of and the pathing of the safest way to get to his rappel. I really respect that. We also have the air jabs laying down from Bibu on the Nomad to suppress any aggression.
Yeah, and here we go. This is the effect of the IQ coming in. Shinka able to see what is on the other side of this red wall, identifying whether they actually are going to need to hard breach open, which they cannot, this red wall, or whether they will need to funnel in through Cigar, which is, I think, unfortunately what they will need to do with a lack of hard breach. I think they have enough utility here, though. 3 sets of flashbangs and Tilf Mowgli to at least enter themselves into the build. P4 immediately making the drop, and Mowgli taking down Kawa on that run out will help their cause.
This is a very interesting push from Wolves, isn't it? In comes the rappel from Mowgli. Now this is very aggressive. He finds the first, looking for another. He gets the double. That's 3 on the round, and it's all up to Didi. He's got the diffuser within his clutches, but he is completely overwhelmed by a hungry Frenchman. Mowgli once again on that entry, ever so deadly. And he's leading Wolves to a strong attack half here on Kafe.
Wolves are just so good at finding opportunities and injecting themselves in. Mowgli, in particular, I feel like has been the player on our tongues throughout this entire matchup thus far. He's really been involved in every opening engagement through this match, and 3 to his name in that round in particular. I think 4 actually as he collects the final one here. So Mowgli having a big impact game and enabling his team to open up the bomb site and pick up another round.
Yeah, great read. Really love that push. Very unusual once again, you know, primarily an East rappel from Wolves, and then the impact player was the guy rappelling White Stairs. Crazy how Mowgli can cover his own run out, rappel in, get 2 kills, and then close the round. He's just in peak form at the moment. We're seeing a lot of great things from Wolves, even though they are trying to bounce back from their loss this morning. In fact, fun fact for you, Mandy, Wolves were on a 13-map win streak going into their match this morning against W7M, because they have just been absolutely farming in the LCQs and in the Gamers Without Borders qualifier. And so going into W7M, they've really been on a high, put back in their place a little bit, but it looks like they haven't slowed down because of it.
Yeah, look, they got a taste of defeat and they were like, yucky. Gotta bring this one back. Don't like that one. So here we are, 2-1 on their attack, and they're looking pretty good. Something I do want to point out this time is we do have hard breach on Shinka. So in the previous round, there's no hard breach. And so I think it makes sense why they went in for their rappel play, because there wasn't sort of another way that they were going to get into the building, right? They can't like open up lines of sight and contest them like that. So this time I imagine that they'll play a little bit of a slower game. The first thing they have to worry about is a C4 of Kawa, who has been very active in this early rounds, but unsuccessful.
Let's see what the Kludge is going to be able to achieve this round for P4. The IGL, the ideas man here for Wolves. Hacked 1 mute jammer. That really just enables him to get his drone in. The high priority here is getting things like these cameras. I'm not sure, what did he get just then? Was that?
I think it was on a Valkyrie camera, yeah. So he's got a default Valkyrie camera and a mute jammer off the back of this. Very good. Converter device. I think that the Brava is actually such a good pick here. Like, I think I was just saying this earlier, but to reiterate the point, because the nature of this Kafe game is that the defenders are playing a bit further away from their utility. The utility is more accessible to the Kludge drones. And so I think playing it into stuff like the Valkyrie, into things like the mute, I think it's a fantastic idea from P4. And it's really cutting down on this defense. It's going to open up so many opportunities close to the bomb site for them to hit the objective. And honestly, I don't think Varrel are going to have enough info, whether passive or active, to know that it's going down.
I mean, this has been great information gathered here by Wolves, by P4. He's droned all the way through that reading bomb site, and now another drone has enabled Mowgli on his entry into train. Stopped now by that mute jammer, but a great position now for Wolves as they are just millimeters away from the bomb site.
Looking good now as Deadshot is here on this top floor looking for the cutoff of any defenders trying to rotate their way back into the site. Shinka opening it up as Mowgli the first to charge his way in and once again claiming a kill to his name.
Big pick for Wolves. Good information though still for Varrel. This camera upstairs that Kafe is using to enable his roam up above, but he does lose his life. That's a critical pick now. Okamesh below, C4 wasted. DD aggressive inside of reading. And Rento feeling the need to make a play as that diffuser is getting planted. A good pre-fire from Deadshot, but sharper shots from Rento. As Okamesh tries to make his way up the red stairs, DD's on a bit of a tear. Retaking the bomb site now for Varrel is a difficult task, but they have the numbers to their name.
It's looking good so far for Varrel as they start to go along into the top floor collecting this vertical control, but Shinka seems pretty aware.
It's patience exuding from these two Wolves players. They know they don't have to make the first move, and Bibu does cut off Okamesh on the retake. Still great position as well from Shinka to deny any kind of defuse. Rento's above, and once again Bibu has taken matters into his own hands. It's a desperate drop now, and there's just no way that Varrel is successful on that retake. A beautiful 2v3 post-plant for Shinka, and Bibu locks in that round for Wolves.
And a really well set up round as we saw through that early to mid round from P4. Of course, the leader, the IGL of this roster, newly appointed, of course, really broke down the bomb site from that second floor. They didn't actually need to clear out that top floor at all. They didn't need to fully clear the roamers. They just injected Deadshot there to make sure they couldn't retake so that they could directly hit the bomb site with all the utility that was taken down by that close drone, get Mowgli in, get that bomb down nice and easy, and it was really well composed post-plan from Wolves to close it out.
We're starting to see a bit more energy from Wolves now. A reaction to that post-plant. As Varrel have taken their tactical timeout, you can see they are still very high energy. Fist pumps coming out. They need to get back on this horse very quickly here. Mandy, Varrel struggled immensely on their attacks against Wolves on Clubhouse. Only won 1 out of their 6. And now they're on their defensive side. This needs to be where they get a little bit of a buffer. But the best case scenario now for the Japanese is a 3-3 half going into their attacks, which even then might not be enough.
Yeah, I think this one's going to be a tough one. I think as well on the attack, they do have a few more tools to their name. Like, yes, Ying is banned out, and yes, Flores is banned out, but so is Azami and so is Solis, right? So I think for the defense, they're lacking a little bit in the more modern tools of Rainbow Six. And so I think for Varrel, having Solis, I think, is a really important one, to be honest. I think that them having banned that out is coming to bite them back a little bit because they have absolutely no idea what Wolves are doing, right? Every time that Wolves get themselves into the building, it seems so stealthy. Like, it never feels like Varrel actually have a read on what Wolves are doing. And I think that not having the Solis there, that or not having enough passive intel like your Malusis or your barbed wire is really, really coming to bite them back.
10 seconds remaining.
Kafe has been quite defensive-sided globally. Across stage 1 of the Blast R6 program, funnily enough, the only region where it's not defender-sided is North America and MENA as well. But as these teams hail from Japan and EUL, we would expect typically a defense-sided Kafe, and I mean, that's further buffered by the fact that Varrel were much better on defense on club.
Attackers are planting the bomb.
So here, this is really interesting to me. So Varrel actually have gone for more of this passive intel kind of thing. They've brought along the combination of the Malusi Banshees and the Goo Mines from Legion to try and make sure that Wolves can't sneak their way in like they have been doing the past 4 rounds. But once again, the effect of the Brava is coming in and hacking those Banshees right off the bat, and it's going to enable Wolves to get themselves in on this ground floor. Once again, we can see Mowgli already shaping up his way outside reception like he has previously. I think he's just walked in.
Yeah, he has. The Brava has managed to disable a lot of the utility inside of reception. The Caillou, though, is just around the corner. Barricade, though, does close off the angle from Closet. And elsewhere, Wolves, P4 specifically, managed to hack the small bakery bulletproof camera, which is going to be really hard, if not impossible, for Varrel to take down.
Yeah, and that's exactly right. And it's also given Wolves all that info going down the hallway. So now all these defenders, the ones stuck inside of reception, even if they want to come down res, there's going to be info for Wolves. And Varrel have really been cutting half in the intel. 2 picks from P4 is going to open up the bomb site.
But Mowgli has gone down. P4, though, has completely taken control of Bakery here, enabled by the information gathered from the clutch drones, from the hack bulletproof. And now it's a pivot for Wolves as they try and take advantage of the map control that P4 has gained for them. As we can see, players rotating, but Rento above. He creates these vertical lines of sight. He's trying to shut Wolves out of that Bakery position.
Deadshot anticipating someone to come through that coat check position as P4 still holding on to this Bakery control, has info on the player inside of the side, but it's Okayu to claim one back onto Deadshot.
Couple of engagements here could make the difference in the round. Rento above. He needs to be able to cover his teammates. But Wolves, they looked so good this game so far, and P4's shot calling has been phenomenal. Looks like a bit of a lurk as one of these players from Wolves is rotating back around reception to backstab.
Yeah, I actually think that Varrel playing this really well. They've crossfired their way onto the entry point of the bomb site, and as a result, it's forcing Wolves to rotate their players around, like you said, isolating the gunfight inside of Kochek. Bibu with a second onto Okamesh, leaving Rento in a 1-on-3.
Perfectly played there by Wolves to distract, to play off each other. And now Rento, he tries to cover the sound of his push down with that C4, but doesn't find anything now. The plant is down, and he's walking into a three-way crossfire, which just isn't going to work out. How do you beat Wolves when they're playing this good?
That was a really great late round adaptation. They didn't go hastily into that bomb site. They realized that even though they did find those initial 2 picks, that it wasn't actually the players on the bomb site that were going to cause them the trouble, right? They realized, okay, there's some vertical. Not only that, but there's Okayu still inside of Kochek, and both those guys have a crossfire on us if we want to enter in through that breach, which we can see through the replays from P4's perspective just there. And as a result, they decide to recompose, isolate this initial gunfight, and it all compounded there to a round win.
I'm really enjoying this new Wolves. It's only been, what, 40, 50 days since they picked up Deadshot. And we talked a little bit about this already, Mandy, I think, on our other cast. But even though P4 has been the traditional IGL for quite some time, Rise also had a very significant leadership role within that team. And now there's had to be a bit of a change, a bit of a rework, and a bit of a restructure of the responsibilities in this team. And I think it's working out really well. I'd say these Wolves potentially even look better than the Wolves we saw at SI, and they managed a top 6 at the World Championship, so it feels like the world is their oyster.
Yeah, I think you're right. We did get some inside information from Helby as we were speaking to him about this roster, and P4, he's always been a big name in this roster. He's always been one of the more vocal players, but now as the primary IGL, he's had to learn from being an opportunistic IGL or an opportunistic leader to a round-to-round leader. And I think it's a big difference when you have to speak every single round and be on your toes on the calling consistently, right? So P4 has really had to learn this new skill set for himself and for the team. He's taken up that responsibility so well. And Rento, hang on a moment, at the bottom of white is going to look for an early pick onto Bibu, taking a little bit of damage, but not all that much, and he can get away with his life.
I like this aggression here, and it does pan out here for Kawa. He takes down P4. And the Finker's utility with it as well. Okay, a bit unusual there for Bibu, but I guess he didn't have any utility from his teammates to open up the hatch. He has to sacrifice a nade. Kawa feeling a bit of pressure as there's a player outside, and it looks like there might be a bit of a recomposure for Varrel to try and scrape a second round away from this half. A nice jump out from Okamesh, continuing this aggression, but it is traded back.
Yeah, I'm liking this from Varrel. Take the fight to Wolves nice and early as they try to make their way into the building. 2 players flying out of windows, has collected 2 kills for Varrel, although 1 traded back. And the next point of contest for Wolves, though, is going to be this cocktail position. We still have 2 sets of nades, and not only that, but the fire bolts of the Capital and Shinka as well to try and flush out this position. And whoever's there inside a cocktail is about to feel a world of pain.
Bibu's scouting out for information as Mowgli prepares for a nade from below. Will it sink onto the player? It's placed perfectly. And that is an easy open and shut case onto DD. Bringing back this advantage now is Wolves. Looking for a 5-1 half, the same thing they achieved the first time they played this Japanese roster. Rento just misses the head, and that could be a costly mistake.
Wow, dangerous position from Rento. The smokes come out from the Capital to try and enable his execute to come through. Unfortunately, an air jump just stunt the jump out from the rest of the zone. It's Varrel, and Okayu now on a 1-on-2 has to do it all.
2 smokes in pocket. But Mowgli picks that diffuser back up, and there's a lot of time to play with here for these final 2 Wolves players. Mowgli and Bibu have been ever so deadly for Wolves. Kayu's trying to make the decision. Where does he play? We can see right now that Mowgli and Bibu are both droning up, both looking to get some information on this player. Now they're satisfied. And as he hears the wee-woo sink on out, a smoke thrown over to try and limit their positions. Time is ticking away. Wolves have to start to force this plant down. They have to start finding this smoke player, and Mowgli does what he does best. Crouch and W. And that's a 5-1 half for the Wolves.
Looking good for the Wolves. I really like the ideas that they're bringing onto Kafe. It's not your everyday drop the red hatch, drop the new hatch and play these lines of sight and fight them. It's really running circles around these Varrel defenders and forcing Varrel to keep guessing what the attack is doing. This unpredictability from the Wolves plays, it never feels like Varrel, despite all their info, despite bringing Valkyrie almost every single round, it doesn't feel like Varrel ever knew what Wolves were doing. And I think as a result, Wolves are really able to pounce on the defense and close out this 5-1 half.
This is exactly the momentum that Wolves needed. 5-1 on their attack. Now moving on to their defense. Doesn't get much better than this. On their map pick as well. Seems to be a replication of the first match these two teams played against each other, Mandy. Now, Varrel did manage to come back a little bit on their defense when they played Clubhouse against Wolves, but I'm not very optimistic for the Japanese chances here, at least not on this map. I think this may end up being a bit of a GG go next scenario.
Yeah, honestly, just looking at the setup of Wolves initially, I think they're also outclassing Varrel a little bit in the strategy as well. I much prefer what Wolves have done here. Look, there's no Azami, so you want to play a bit longer. So bring along 3 1.5 times, bring along Mirror, rather than closing backstore, open the entire backstore wall, open up bathroom, and play these long lines of sight. Because there's no Azami, it's less viable to play close, right? So I actually like the concept from Wolves a little bit better. I think they've read into the nature of this Kafe game in a much more advanced and mature way than what Varrel were playing it. I think they're going to do well here on this defense.
The scary thing always when you're going up against Varrel is you have to be ready for the rushes. We see the Lion teases that out for now. A nade to follow. This may find Deadshot. It doesn't, but it does destroy a lot of the utility that was to protect him, including that ADS. So a second nade can sail through safely. Okamesh team kills and finds one. It might not matter at this rate, as Varrel find themselves in a 3v1 Shinka. C4 in pocket. And 2 minutes now to play with. This C4 could land, however. Akayu seems clueless, as the BPC is taken down. The C4 far too late, and this plant should be safely secured for Varrel, as the E1D locks Shinka in place, and a massive task is ahead of him in the 1v3. It's not gonna happen, and Varrel finally stem the bleeding. They find their first round on the half switch.
And in true caster fashion, I completely cursed the defense by saying that I thought it was good. Varrel decided to completely subvert my expectation, and instead of actually playing into the line of sight, they decided to hit the other side of the defense instead. Going for that cocktail push, I think was the right read into the defense. You don't want to be dropping into a mirror from the red side of the map. You want to go from the back instead. And so I think that making the defense nullified by playing the utility game, swinging their way on in and finding the right timing off the back of their utility was really a great read from Varrel and a great play to open up their attack.
So realistically, is there a chance, Mandy? Is there a chance that this gets brought back? Is this just going to be a super attacker-sided Kafe?
Maybe. I don't know.
Maybe.
I'm scared now, you know? I've called something very wrong. I've called something very wrong, forgetting that it's a Varrel that we're casting, you know?
Varrel are a special, very unique. Nobody plays quite like Varrel do. Even Cyclops, you know, people always love talking about Cyclops, the Japanese team that seem to be at every single international event, seem to always promise, but fumble. And everyone was always so, you know, like in admiration of their play style. And I feel like Varrel are just on another level to Cyclops. They love this aggressive play. As we hear that E1D, 14 seconds into the action phase ring out, you just know that Varrel are looking for something fast. Overcomes the nade. Don't believe it found the shield, however.
I like this from Okamesh. He's actually very much mirroring what P4 was able to do on the Brava by taking away some of that passive intel of the Banshees. It's going to make sure that he can get his attackers, his players into the map nice and stealthily. Not going to give away their entries. Mowgli is able to see the second one as he's aware that a player could come in through that reception part of the map. He's pinged it out and realized that his Banshee has in fact been hacked and he can no longer rely on it.
Oh, how stressful now. Playing in such a awkward position for Mowgli. He loses his life. We may well see an attacker-sided game after all, but Bibu finds one back dead shot as well. 2 players left up for Varrel, and this engagement could be massive. P4 ever so happy to claim that kill. Akayu in the 1v3, no E1Ds left to use. 2 flashes in pocket and a dream. A minute and a half to play with, but this is not a fun position to be in for Akayu. Match point awaits for Wolves.
Oh, it's possible though. He's got info on the site and has realized that this eastern side of the map is actually quite clear, so he's going to be able to try and isolate these long gunfights with DMR in his hand. Try and take the engagements 1-to-1, or try and at least make his way into the bomb site from here. There is a rotation on this whiskey part of the map, so he might be able to sneak his way on in, but actually getting these gunfights down will be pretty tricky.
Shinka spotted him on that Valkyrie camera though, so they know exactly where he's coming from. They're playing good crossfires, Wolves. Caillou needs to try and isolate these ones, and he could potentially do it onto Deadshot. He has a lot of time to play with here, but it's a perfect crossfire with the player at bot red stairs as well. And Wolves cruise their way to a map point here on their map pick of Kafe.
I really like that from Wolves. I think that as the mid-round ticked by, they realized that some of their utility on the ground floor was starting to become pretty unreliable with the 2 Clutch drones that came through. They didn't have as much info. They didn't have Banshees that were active to them anymore, and so they decided to recollect themselves on this ground floor, and we saw this mid-round. The trades really came back and forth. We can see Deadshot here in the power position of Whiskey, realizing that the Varrel players have in fact injected themselves into the building and taking the engagements needed to keep them safe in the round.
When you watch Wolves, you can just see how experienced this team is, right?
Yeah.
Like, these guys went to every single major last year and they were top 8 main stage performers in both Berlin and Jönköping. Main stage appearance again in Six Invitational, where they got top 6. First place in EUL twice last year. And you've got players like Bibu, not only one of the oldest players at the tournament, but one of the most experienced. This guy has played at 8 different international events across his career. 5 majors, 3 Six Invitationals. And holistically, this Wolves roster, like, this isn't their first rodeo by any stretch of the imagination. You compare that to the utter juxtaposition of Varrel. These guys were once upon a time champions in Japan, like 2 years ago. And this is their first time ever on the international stage. They never even played in APAC North. It's a huge difference in the accolades between these 2 teams. And we're seeing it in the results here. Wolves are having a great time.
Reload. First Clutch drone, unfortunately, meat jammed out through the floor for Alkamesh as he wants to make his way in and enable his team to play the entry. And I think, like you said, for Varrel, this was always going to be a tough matchup against Wolves. Wolves now on match point. Keep in mind that this is in fact their map pick, so I think that we did expect Wolves to do well here, but maybe not this well.
Yeah. Varrel do seem to take a little bit of time to get into their games. Even against Bliss, it took 3 maps to get the job done to keep them alive, and now they're playing for survival once again in a BO3. Patience from Wolves. They know they don't need to make a move. As Varrel, you never quite know what they're gonna do next, right? They spend a lot of time droning and poking, and they finally make a play. There's a logic bomb. Replied with a kill from P4, a flash to stun him out, but Varrel are the ones being shut out at the moment. Mowgli is having a phenomenal game, 12 kills to his name, and it's an open and shut case for the Wolves on their map pick. Utter domination, 7-2 is the scoreline, and they're 1 up in the series.
Looking good from the Wolves, and they close out that one nice and easy. Their own map pick, like you said, utter dominance. Mowgli, the MVP of that matchup, looking very comfortable to take the series.
And we'll be back for map 2 after this quick break.
Here today, the top two teams from Europe and from America.
Diffuser down with 30 seconds. Bounce, he's got to find 4, but Pengu says no. Penta are your first PC Pro League champions.
Davian alone, and he drops down. Continue are your world champions.
Penta's going to have time to get the diffuser down, and we are going to see Penta win this all. They're the world champions right now for Season 1. He's going to be spotted. Can he get the kill on Chestic? He grabs the Deagle kill! It's now Fabian and ball up to him. And a 1-on-2, Julian and Wag. Can he get it? Fabian's going to dip around the grid. He won't get it. Julio gets the frag. Black Dragons go to the grand final.
Eds versus Black Dragon. Bootsy adds to Wag. You call them Eds, we call them champions. Eds takes year 2, season 3.
Welcome to the final of the 6th Invitational.
One map away from the championship.
Let's go back on stage, boys. We have this. Let's go.
User in a position where they'll have to see when the Hibana goes through. One will cover the doorway as they start to defuse. Pengu goes for one on the young. Can he go the second? They're often known as the best team in the world.
We are in Atlantic City.
Vão tentando caçar com tudo. E o Team Liquid consegue levar um round. A Team Liquid vai sendo campeã da Pro League.
On Joe Perry!
Close to getting the victory, and he goes down. G2 will take the win.
Sound cue to give Dim the information. Oh, he takes one down. Oh! Empire will rise as you crown a new champion here in Milan.
2 kills, 3 for Shepard, and the Empire strikes back.
2v3, Kendrew finds one, and Hyper is there. Na'Vi just need a couple more seconds. And it's done!
We have a new Pro League champion. It's Na'Vi!
Julio has diffuser in hand. He finds the shots, but Palu cannot find the kill. Out comes the knife. Shot out by Pino.
Your winners. It is the Ninjas in pajamas.
Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Oh, I got one. So team one's up one. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
Team 1 wins. Yes.
5 seconds left, but it's been surrendered. And do you believe in Magic, Michael? Team 1 does, as they win the Mexico Major.
It's time for our grand final.
FaZe have everything in their power, and that's the diffuser. Years and years of hard work pay off. FaZe Clan are your champions. All he has to do is stop joystick. 2 seconds left. There's multiple people looking, but always has the insurance policy. Empire have come so close before, but they've fallen short, and they'll do so again. TSM are your 6th Invitational 2022 World Champs. J9-0 to save Astralis. DZ can double up and secure their first international major win.
Yesterday they took the cloud from LA. Today they take their kingdom from Lucknow. Rogue EU winners of the Berlin Major.
3 versus 4. Oh my BDS, they are your major champions.
Phenomenal start in the series for Wolves, 7-2 on their map pick, but Chalet awaits, and there is a chance that Varrel could fight for survival here. This is an elimination game after all, and as we've already seen the other Japanese team in play-ins get knocked out in Northeption, Varrel certainly not going to go down without a fight.
Yep, certainly not. This is their map pick of Chalet, like you said. I'm hoping that they can at least be comfortable on this one in comparison to Kafe, which was utter domination from the side of Wolves. I'm hoping for a more competitive match this time around, Dev, but Wolves look pretty good. Yeah. They look pretty good in the series so far. It is going to be a very tall order for the Japanese team.
Yeah, I mean, in particular, Movi, this one round where he got that 4K, absolutely farming. He's just running around. He's having a lovely time. P4 as well has had some lovely moments on the calling, using that Brava. And even, there was a fantastic 2v3 round in the post plan. Wolves just, you really can see their experience. It's so palpable in the server. They know exactly what they're doing.
I think that's exactly right. There's a lot of science behind the way that they play. I think it's very calculated and measured with the tools that they have in their hands. And I think it's, really coming to show, like you said, in the series. I think going on to Chalet, which I would say doesn't play out all too different from Kafe. It's like no Oregon, it's no Clubhouse or something like that. It's like very much within the same category of type of map where you're able to use the architecture of like the windows to like cut-offs and inject yourselves into the building, coming through the basement, whatever. I think that Wolves are going to feel pretty comfortable transferring some of those skills across maps.
Yeah, for sure. Wolves, they might have lost their win streak. They had, 13 matches in a row. But funnily enough, they do actually have a win streak on this map of Chalet. They have a 4-map win streak, 4 wins in a row. However, an asterisk is that 3 of those teams aren't even in the EUL. It was throughout the open quals for the EU LCQ and through the Gamers Without Borders open quals. So they've had quite a few wins on this map, and there's quite a few footage, quite a bit of footage out there for Varrel to work off. Whereas on the flip side, Varrel played this just the other day against Bliss, and they did win it. And that was I'm not going to say convincing, but it was a 7-5. So reasonably tight game. And, just as much as there's footage on Wolves, there's footage for Wolves to see on Varrel of how they play Chalet.
Yep, I think it's exactly right. I think if they've prepared for each other, they've probably seen it. I think as a result, we can call it pretty even playing field. Whereas I think for Kafe, to me, was really Wolves favoured. I think that this one, Varrel will certainly be a little bit more competitive. It seems a little more within their reach.
So for Wolves, on the cusp of qualifying for Phase 2, for the playoffs, only one map stands in their way and one team, it is Varrel. But these guys, they certainly have an unpredictable play style. It does feel like Wolves have had a read. Even the rushes that we've seen Varrel try time and time again, Wolves have managed to thwart consistently. And now moving on to Varrel's map pick. It's the last chance for Japan. Scars does await in the playoffs, but for Varrel, this could be the end of the line. And it would be such a shame to see either of these teams go out early. I think Varrel have won a lot of hearts with their energetic, not only their play style, but just on the cameras. They are having a great time. Okamesh is Rubik's Cube mastermind while playing the game, but Wolves as well. They have captured the hearts of many Rainbow Six fans through their back-to-back appearances in international events over the last 12 months.
Yeah, I think for sure. Like, if any of you are new to Rainbow Six or don't watch a lot of Japan League and you're enjoying the way that Varrel have been playing in the last couple of days, come and watch Japan League with us. That's the one that we love covering, we love talking about. It's always so entertaining, and you'll get to see some really exciting stuff from that team over there. But Wolves consistent as ever, where they deserve to be here at this major and trying to claim their spot in Phase 2.
As we see the operator bans go out, no Flores this time, but the Ying remains. Varrel are very rarely allowed to play that Ying. People love banning it against them. It's either the Ying or the Dokkaebi we usually see teams get rid of against Varrel. They actually are going to double down with that Azami, just like we saw on map 1 as well, despite starting on the defense. So that's 2 for 2, where they start on the defense, but get rid of one of the most, if not the most powerful defensive operator available.
Yeah, banning out Valkyrie though, this time, is a bit of a difference. Solus has slipped through the ban phase. I wonder if Varrel on the defense are going to be comfortable with utilizing that operator, or if they're just going to simply leave it out. I think Wolves to ban out Valkyrie is a good idea. Kawa did pick it consistently time and time again, and I think it's forced him to try something else. We'll see what Varrel can do to adapt to the situation that they've been given.
Kitchen dining to kick things off here for Varrel, and interesting that there is an absence, a very notable absence of Solus in the defense lineup. You said, is Varrel going to use it? I feel like Solus is too good not to bring. And now they do have some kind of good information gathering in the form of the Echo, those Yokai drones. But when Wolves were coming up against the Valkyrie, they brought that IQ a lot. You know, Dockerby was teased out, P4 is now switched off of it. There's a lot of tools available to counter that Echo, and I really would have liked to see that Solus.
I think I would have liked to see it too, not just for that, but also because they need to get a read onto Wolves, what Wolves are doing, right? Every attack that Wolves were able to pull off onto Varrel, it didn't ever feel like Varrel actually knew what was going on in the server. It didn't ever feel like they knew that Wolves were about to hit them. And I think that the Solus in this situation would really help them out. We did see Varrel make an attempt at stuff like Melusi and stuff like Legion to help it out, but it didn't seem to do all too much for them. Really dominant stuff from Wolves. Of course, we don't want to catch ourselves too early on as the round is about to begin. Okamesh getting aggressive on the window as DD's able to collect the first onto Mowgli.
And if there's anyone on Wolves you want to take down, it's Mowgli, but they are certainly not going down without a fight. In they go through the bathroom. Deadshots found one. Looking for the second, but Okamesh is on a tear up in the master bedroom. He's made it his own. And with 50 seconds into the round, it's a 1 versus 4 for poor Shinka.
Good composure there from Varrel. Wolves tried to go for a mini execute onto this master and bathroom side of the map as they hopped in through the windows simultaneously, but the players of Varrel were there to meet them. 3 to the name of Okamesh, leaving Shinka in a 1-on-4, made into a 1-on-3, taking down Rento. But I don't imagine that the rest of the Varrel players will want to give away their lives.
What's great for Varrel here is they can just use the Echo to
Shinka
get
could convert her though. I think they've got info on the player inside of the solar stairs, yeah. I think he's going to rotate around and try and wallbang him. Winnable, maybe enough info.
2 players have rotated down to the solar stairs now. And Shinka seems to have info that it's clear. And he makes his way into Piano. So he really is going to give a go of it. Not going to take a pseudo-tactical timeout. Shinka confident in his ability to clutch up. He's got some information on where one of them is.
If there's anyone that I could back in to try and clutch this one up, it would be Shinka, right? Oh, unfortunately not. Okamesh can take him down instead. 4 to his name. And Varrel claimed the first round.
Still valiant effort there from Shinka, but Okamesh, great to see him flourishing. 4 kills in that same master bedroom. Same room, barely even moved. It was just a turret holding on. And here we get to see all of them. So takes out the player on the window, immediately follows up with a second. Nice attempt there from Shinka, but a really great start on the map for Varrel. This is the kind of confidence booster that they need. Just love this team.
Oh, so funny.
It's crazy. I don't think I've seen a team that's won have as much energy as Varrel do while they're losing.
Yeah, no way. There's no such thing as being dejected if you're on Varrel, right? Gotta have the energy all the time, especially if you're sitting next to Okamesh. You are having lots of fun. Going down to the basement is the next bomb site of choice for Varrel as they look to do this roam out into the top floor, aided by the Oryx, creating all these big rotations through the top floor, forcing Wolves to decide if they want to clear it out or if they're going to try and attack the bomb site more directly.
5 seconds remaining.
I like the mirror pick though. Does make things a little bit awkward for Wolves if they try and do a bit of a cheesy rush on the site. What's going on there for Kawa? Is there something I don't know about?
I don't know anything about shooting the side of a barricade. Maybe it makes it like multiple or something.
Yeah, this is very strange. Maybe he knows something that we don't.
Yep.
But once again, a spawn peek. So we saw this a lot from Kawa on Kafe, and DD did manage to get a nice spawn peek onto Mowgli last round. Even though that 1.5 times scope is gone, it doesn't stop the Oryx players from getting aggressive. Mowgli had a really nice angle there down into bar stock. And this does seem to be a sweep here for Wolves as they enter into library, but a perfect C4 on the back of the beeper does enable another opening for Varrel.
Yep, nice one there. Mowgli to try and follow up though, looking for the refrag as DD is loitering around this attack over on the master side of the map. Like we pointed out before, plenty of rotations for him to be mobile around this area. They do seem to have some info on the player that's here. Bibu looking for the cutoff is able to collect a nice headshot onto DD and even up the man advantage.
Since Bibu's still alive as well, you've got that Bach. Great util in the late round when it comes to the vertical game. He's the guy you want alive. Still quite a few roamers haven't been flushed out yet. Okamesh still has this mirror inside of Dining to work with. It hasn't been disabled from above, but we can hear that skeleton key start to ring on out.
Yep, looking good now for Wolves as they start to claim their way through the rest of the map. It seems like they're actually going to ignore the Dining side of the map. I don't think that they're going to look to attack it as they are starting to send their drones into the site and planning out the execute. Shinka, with the diffuser in hand, is going to get the main breach open, and that would indicate to me they're going to try and utilize the double smokes of Shinka to just push out this mirror, get the Caillou out of his position with the one grenade of Mowgli, who's now making his way in through blue. He should be able to backstab him any second now.
Wow.
P4, in fact, is going to take those matters into his own hands. The SMG-12 in hand and finished off with the DMR. Player just rounding the corner off. Blue is able to take both of them down. That's Kawa, and now Shinka's in a 1-on-3.
You're blinking you miss it, Mandy. The round is over. Great show there from, I think it was Kawa and Rento, cleaned it up at the end. Kawa ran in the corner to find 2 in blue, turned the tide of that round. I gotta say though, that was a really good attack from Wolves. If one of those 2 blue players was watching for the swing, I don't think that round goes the way it ended up going. Wolves had some really good positions and they'd set up for a nice execute.
Yeah, I liked that. I liked that they tried to change the tempo of their execute and go for something opportunistic through the mid-round once they realized that there was a somewhat lack of presence on the bomb site. It was really only the mirror player and then one other inside of blue. That was Kawa, able to take them down eventually. And I liked that they went for it. Unfortunately, Kawa was too good as he rounded the corner and took down these 2 players. That was really the spearhead of the push that they tried to make work for them. And Varrel, as a result, remained composed and take another round.
Despite it being a nice push, the bottom line is this has been 2 fairly dominant rounds here for Varrel. They've had 3 players left alive when all of the Wolves players were dead in both of the rounds so far. Varrel have also had the opening pick in both rounds so far. So maybe there is a chance here that the momentum could be built on out. And look, if you want to play the silver linings game, Mandy, Varrel already have as many rounds as they got on Kafe, just 2 rounds into Chalet.
Success! Here we go, Varrel on defense. Exciting stuff. I think they're a lot more keyed in to what Wolves are doing. They seem to have a much better read on the map and a much better feel of the map compared to Kafe. Not only that, but they've got the Celis in the hands of Didi this time, who's starting out in the basement to see if there are any Wolves players trying to sneak their way in through this trench position. Good idea. Air jab as well, spotted out, means that he's going to be safe looking for this runner. He can impact it if he chooses. Bibu looking for a cutoff towards the bomb site. It seems like Wolves are going for something more direct.
Let's see if that impact works. Goes for the run out and finds a beautiful hipfire headshot. Pretty sure he wasn't even scoped in yet by the time Bibu fell. Great opener. That's 3 for 3 opening kills now for the Japanese, and Wolves are starting to fumble it.
Really nice stuff there from Didi on the Celis. Like we pointed out earlier, has enabled him to pick up that first pick. Oh no, Mowgli running himself into a double Capcan trap, but thankfully a gadget of their own is able to trade. Shinka being taken down by a Claymore.
Mowgli's really not having a good time here on Chalet. He got 12 plus kills on Kafe. Now in the second map, it's not his day. P4 on the Bravo though, things you love to see. This would be right at the top of my list. That said, already the top blue camera has been taken out. He's going to get his other clutch. What's he searching for here? I mean, there's Capcan still up. There's the Electroclaws from the Solis.
I'm reloading. Electroclaws from the Solis?
Sorry.
I was so confused there for a moment. I was like, oh. Yeah, I think so. But for Shinka to be able to get this wall open, the wall does need to be unelectrified, and all 4 walls of office have actually been closed, and that's really enabled Wolves to get a lot of control up all the way into this piano double. Really safe. You can see P4 is very comfortable here just rounding this piano double. He's completely aware of the mirror play inside of that split little area, and he's really been given a lot of real estate here, Def.
Is P4 going to be able to swing and take down a Caillou though? Trapped inside of office. He finds the first one. How many can he claim? It's a double for him. Deadshot, the last one alive. Going in with the pistol. He does find a Caillou, but Didi coming from behind. It's 3 on the trot for Varrel. And this is a completely different story to Kafe on their map pick. The Japanese are having the time of their lives.
Yeah, looking really comfortable this time, starting out on the defense. They are very composed, Dev. They're not doing something too ambitious. They're not like running circles through the map or anything like that. They're all playing their individual power positions really well. I think Okayu was a big name in that round, sitting behind that half wall. Even though all the walls around him were reinforced, he knew that it meant that the attackers had to funnel in through the adjacent doors to him, and he played that a 1-2 pick really well right here in this replay. Here's one, he turns around and claims the second. Really great composure from him in his power position.
These guys have to get to the main stage. Like, imagine Okamesh on the main stage.
That would be so cool. I would be so excited. It feels like a long time since we've seen an animated Japanese roster, because like CAG, they were you know?
Well, I mean,
they weren't nearly as animated as these guys, and they weren't nearly as animated as Norengo were back in the day, right? Those guys literally danced on the stage for us, so.
Yeah, there's nothing quite like Rayseal and Waka back on the Norengo days. And, you know, Ayagator now being dropped from CAG. You've lost the main Jester. I guess it's still Aniton, but why talk about those guys when Varrel is here and they're not? You know, these guys took down CAG to earn their spot here. And you want to talk about breakout players, Okamesh, right? He really made a name for himself in the Japan League this stage, but even on the main major now, he's been a great player individually and also a very significant entertainer. He has only been on this roster for like, what, 50 days so far? Formerly of Crest, another strong Japanese team that just barely was not able to make it. But I'm really loving this new Varrel roster. I think picking up Okamesh was absolutely the right decision.
Yeah, not just that, but Okamesh as well. Y'all at home could probably guess he's a very vocal player on the roster. As Kawa is the big captain of the roster, Okamesh is one of the in-game leaders as well of this one. They really, they share the calling between the two of them, and I think to have such an animated, excited player, someone that brings so much energy, how can you not love being IGL'd by Okamesh, right? That would be such a fun game to play.
The guy who's got the confidence to spawn peek with Mozzie when 3-0 up against one of the most experienced rosters in Rainbow Six right now. Even though it didn't get a kill, Bibu got a little bit of a haircut, and Okamesh has actually lost his life to Shinka with the Capitao. Very cheeky little angle there, and that's the first time this map that Wolves have found the opening pick.
Liking this from Wolves, they're playing a pretty cautious game here outside of the bomb site, trying to look for a pick external to the building. They don't want to take these early engagements by putting themselves in a dangerous position, and instead are trying to play the utility game. The firebolt from Shinka can come out to try and flush out this position inside of storage, as Mowgli can use his remaining grenade to get P4 in the building.
I really like that. The usage of the Capitao, the smoke to enable the entry as well, cutting off the lines of sight down below. Mowgli now, he's died to a can trap once this map already. Certainly not going to let it happen again, but he might get sprayed down through the barricade. Very low on HP. On the other side is Kawa as well. P4 has managed to take mezzanine control, and there's great positioning now for Wolves. DD is still at large on this roam.
Scary stuff here for Wolves. They don't want to jump into this display case area because they will be in a pinch of the defenders remaining. The roam is left up on that top floor. It seems like most of them have actually decided to fall back onwards towards the bomb site. Mowgli seems to have an idea that there's really only one player left close enough to the bomb site to deal damage, and that's the one in the back of storage. That's Okayu that's about to feel a world of pain.
Oh, Mowgli just misses his shots. He's yet to find a kill. He's got to be so frustrated as I say that. He takes Rento's head clean off. Now this round is going to come down to what Kawa can do on the flank. Deadshot has finished off DD, but Bibu is watching the flank, gets timed. Akayu now left in a 1v4. And Wolves are looking to take their first round here, but they don't want to mess it up. They should know where he is. Akayu has been in stock for so long, and Mowgli gets his second. Finally, Wolves are on the board.
Good things from Wolves. They took the path of least resistance there to get themselves into the building and attack the bomb site a little bit more directly. The main points of control that they looked for was onto the bomb site itself, and then just in library above, which P4 did a great job of entering on. And from there on out, they didn't get too ambitious with trying to control the rest of the map. They were happy with the map control that they had, and from there on out, just had to cut off Varrel as they looked for that retake, which they did to perfection.
Interesting to see that Wolves finally have found a round, but Varrel, in a way, left the door open for them. Varrel have played all 4 different bomb sites now. Kitchen and Dining was the first round that Varrel won, very convincingly, mind you, and that was unlocked last round when they chose to go to bar games instead. I wouldn't be surprised if, for the rest of the half, we don't see Varrel reattempt bar games, as Wolves had a really good read on that bomb site. Strange to me, though, that Varrel, instead of going back to Kitchen Dining, the first bomb site they won, they're going instead to Snow Wine, which was the second that they won. And Wolves had a pretty good roam clear on this site, so I don't know. I feel like this is a big risk here for the Japanese.
I would agree with you on that one as well. I think that Wolves as well have leaned into this roam clear idea. They've decided to bring along the big gunners of Deadshot and Mowgli on 2 entry operators and aided by P4 on the line. It would indicate to me that they are going to look to try and roam clear and then utilize the vertical of Bibu to cut down on the mirror setup that they have inside of Dining or whatever it might be. I think you want to put your buck on the floor above the bomb site and make use of the skeleton keys. So I think, yeah, for Varrel, they're going to have to be quite careful on this roam as it gets cut down.
It's not easy to roam when you've got that line on the board too. Deadshot, wow, just gets the timing to jump in through that window without the player watching for him. Mowgli is trying to hunt down that player in stock down below. Look at all the drones going out to support Deadshot on this entry. The Swiss player on the Ash looking to clear the roam as Varrel seem to have peeled back. They're not looking to over-contest.
I think good from Varrel, realizing that the roam clear has started to come through and they're happy with the adequate time wasted on the map. This time it doesn't look like they dedicated as much of their setup to the map. In fact, I don't actually believe that the mirror ever went down on the ground floor. I could be completely wrong there, but it seems like, yeah, it's only Okamesh left here on this solar side of the map. If the hatch is open, you could probably drop back down to safety, which seems like what Kawa is trying to do to help out his teammate, make sure he can get back his way into the bomb site. But yeah, I think this is good from Varrel, playing a little bit more conservative.
Still no opening engagement, however. And Wolves identified last time attacking this bomb site, the blue can be somewhat free. Deadshot is in position, waiting to move his way forward. Boo opening up long lines of sight as well onto that bomb site from above, using that vert. Hasn't actually made a lot of vert yet, however. Here comes the E1D, and here marches up Deadshot, opening up that mirror window and taking down Rento. That's the impact player dead, but the trade comes through. That said, Wolves seem to recompose quite handily, evening up the numbers once again.
Oh, but they seem to know that the retake has come through on the ground floor. Bibu can turn around and take down Kawa, but there's still Okamesh lurking his way through that top floor and looking to take down the remaining attackers.
DD is the lone player on site, and there's 3 hungry Wolves hunting Okamesh. They've revealed his position, and that makes DD ever so vulnerable. Shinka goes in for the final blow. It's all up to Okamesh on the retake. C4 available. He'll use that to enable some lines of sight, but there's also a player right around the corner in bar. He spots out the planter and he forces Shinka off it. Bibu's now going to try and hunt him. But if Okamesh is aware, no, he's not, absolutely not. And Bibu can take him down. Great recomposure now for Wolves. On the back of that tactical timeout, they've found 2 rounds.
I like that from Wolves. They reattempted the same attack as they did the previous time that they went for the basement, and this time to a little bit more success. Deadshot able to make that blue push work this time. The pivotal gunfight going his way around that blue 90 corner enabled his team to get into their bomb site. Shinka as well did a great job with the diffuser as well, as he was almost taken down from the vertical, but is able to get off it and play that cat and mouse game with the final defender of Okamesh. Really nice composure from Wolves to make that attack work.
They always have such a good read, don't they, Wolves? And really, it's Varrel that need to practice their reading skills right now. This is their tactical timeout. Wolves on the back of theirs managed to get 2 in a row. If this momentum can switch once again in favor of the Japanese, then they could be on for a really good half, Mandy. They've already got 3 defenses. If they could go 4-2, though, I'd be pretty optimistic for them. I feel like with Azami banned out, I do think attackers should have a fair go of it here on Chalet. So if Varrel can finish their defensive half with an advantage, I'd be very optimistic for them.
I actually agree with that. I'm quite surprised that Wolves are down a little bit here on the round count. I would have expected that the attack is quite doable with Azami banned out. Even though Solus is in, it's not like Varrel are making like super use out of that operator or anything like that. So it does surprise me a little bit that where Wolves are, but I think they're starting to find their mojo in this series. What on earth is Akayu doing?
He's hiding the clash. He doesn't want them to see that there is a clash in hand. for Varrel. And let's just think about what are Wolves bringing that could potentially counter that clash. Well, you've got some stun grenades, potentially on 3 operators, Lion, Buck, and Thermite. And then you've got some nades from the Yana. That, to me, is plenty enough to deal with that clash.
You think so? I hope so.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be really scary if they don't. It makes me wonder what Wolves are going to do in response to when they see it, right? Because historically, when they attack Spaceman bomb site, they've gone for this like blue-centric push where they send 2 or 3 players down there in tandem with Shinka opening up the breach, right? But if Clash is there on either the breach or on the blue push, then that could really stunt what Wolves are trying to do. I think it's a good adaptation.
Yeah. Clash is no longer hiding his identity any longer. Akayu getting aggressive inside a snowmobile as the main breach has already been opened by Shinka.
Interesting one for Wolves. I think here's where they've got to problem solve, right? Are they actually going to do the same push that they did previously, which is quite linear and claustrophobic, which would play into the hands of the Clash, or are they going to try something else and try to flip their attack over towards the back side of the setup? But the first step, of course, is that roam clear. Before they do anything else, execute related, they need to clear these roamers on the second floor.
And even little things here, like DD had placed a Vulcan canister on the window of Library, which he knows that Wolves are always pushing from. Even though it only wastes a little bit of time, it does do something. Now, DD is cut off on his retreat. Great teamwork there, but Rento takes down Mowgli, who is continuing to have a rough game here. Very risky play for Rento, aggressive in blue, but he does find his man, and that's both nades gone here. So perhaps this clash will be able to have a little bit more happiness and a little bit more safety in this late round.
Okamesh once again is looking for his roam across on this trophy side of the map. I imagine the hatch is open next to him for safe fall-off, but Wolves don't look like they're doing anything too different. Shinka's actually going to use his second exothermic charge on this hatch instead. I think this is a good play. It's going to enable his attackers to be able to make their way in through connector, at least stop any of the defenders from being there and stop them from being close to the plant that Shinka is trying to go for.
Overall for Wolves, this is good time management. A good push, but how are they going to deal with that clash? Still 6 stuns available and 2 smokes, as it seems to be a rotation here to go for this snowmobile push.
I think they've got to go for it here, to be honest. I think you're right. I think it's going to be off the back of these smokes and flashbangs to enable the entry to come through. I really like what Shinka's trying to do here. He's trying to go for a plant in an off position. Don't be too obvious. Don't go straight onto the breach, because you want to make sure that the defenders actually have to run into the line of sight of your covering teammates.
Still, the Vulcan canister keeps Shinka at bay. The smoke to cover off the mirror will definitely elapse before this fire does. He sees the clash. How are Wolves going to deal with this? Varrel might have just found the secret source here. As Shinka crosses and P4 drops in, how do Varrel respond? The plan is going down. P4, he's got to cover. Akayu goes down, but the trade comes through. Deadshot as well, jumping in the fun. It's a post plant now for 3 players of Wolves. But there might be a possibility here for the stick to come out. It's Rento to start teasing it. Must be Kawa to cover. He is taken down. Rento's gonna have to stick it. Are they gonna find him in time? Bibu swoops down and saves the day for Wolves. And that's 3 rounds in a row to tie up the half.
That was some great calling from Shinka there on the support, being able to go for that plant and time the push with P4, the IGL, dropping the hatch at the same time. Such a smart play into the clash. You go and plant somewhere that you don't that is unexpected, an off position, force the defense to play the retake immediately as the execute is coming down, and P4 was in that perfect position off the back of the vertical of his teammates to cut it down. That was just the most excellent late round problem solving that we've seen out of the leadership figures of Wolves.
Got to say as well, that's a sigh of relief.
You can see the relief, like
Wow.
you can see, right? If you're the IGL in that scenario, people's thinking, right, this might sound crazy, but this is the execute that we're gonna do. I'm gonna drop here and you're gonna plant here, and Shinga's probably thinking, alrighty, you better cover me. And people was thinking, yeah, I gotta do my job here.
Even one thing goes wrong there for Wolves and the entire execute falls apart, so you can appreciate the stress they must have been feeling. And I gotta say as well, I feel like Akayu did make a mistake by putting that clash shield on his back and trying to go for a pick there. It was a critical moment. The clash was essentially ineffectual. Well, now for Wolves, 3 rounds in a row. The confidence from Mowgli to spawn peek. Doesn't get the kill, but does a hell of a lot of damage on the Kawa. No 1.5 on the Warden. That's a rare
I was just
sight.
thinking that as well. That is a holographic scope on the MPX. Gosh, unheard of. Anyway, we've got another 1.5x on there from G9, so it doesn't really matter. Anyway, here we go into the defense of Wolves, and they're going to start out on this bar and games part of the map. I like what they're bringing in the Wolves of Mowgli and enabling him to run around the map and see what he can do to stop Varrel. Keep in mind, Ying has been banned out, so it's not like they've got too many... Oh, there we go. It's not like they've got too many flashbangs in their hand for this Warden to play with, but it does make the rest of the smokes and stuff a bit more unreliable.
Oh, very risky entry there from Rento. Goes straight into a frost mat. Now Kawa is looking for something. Lurking up short, but great read. The Banshee keeps him at bay. It just feels like Wolves have the perfect setup to try and counter Varrel's playstyle here. You've got a bulletproof camera for Shinka to use. Now, Shinka has gone down, but not finished off as of yet. I doubt that someone will be able to get into position to revive him, but you never know. Wolves, I don't think will be too stressed at the moment. Kawa is on for this roam clear. It's a very disjointed push for Varrel, however.
Yep, they're just seemingly looking for a way into the map. It's unsuccessful so far, but whatever real estate they can get, they will take. As we can see, most of the Varrel players have started out on this master office side of the map, where there are a lot less roamers for the side of Wolves. This is Okamesh here on board inside of office. The one position that there's no Wolves players, they're trying to exploit that weakness, but it's going to be very hard to crack down on the shield setup that they have with the lack of explosives.
Varrel are just desperate for a push here. They do find one. Oh, actually, that's just the confirmation of the kill as Shinka has finally bled out inside of stock. Now, that is a pretty critical position, but Wolves are still pretty happy about the players that they've got alive. Still P4 in the corner of Library, dead shot on Mezzanine. Here comes the stuns.
But there are no nades, right? The stuns can come through, but there's no more explosives. And so this setup inside of the top floor is going to remain standing for the rest of the round. The only thing that Varrel can try and do is inject themselves into it, but they're just walking into a crossfire. Kawa now with a slither of HP and a 1-on-4 is a very tall and I would say impossible task.
He's been low HP ever since he got spawn peeked at the start of the round by Mowgli. Yeah, this is very unfortunate now for Varrel. Tactical timeout at the start of last round did not allow them to get back on that horse, to bring the momentum back on their side, to close out the half with an advantage. And now for the first time this map, Mandy, Varrel will be at a deficit. And these rounds seem to be getting more and more convincing for Wolves as they've got a great read on how the Japanese play. They just sit back and wait. As Carwell looks for a stat pad and he finds absolutely nothing. Wolves, 4 rounds in a row on this map. They are making this run work.
Yeah, I think that round, not the most wise use of utility there from Varrel. They did have 3 sets of grenades and 2 sets of flashbangs, so in theory, enough to try and clear out the setup inside of Mezzanine, inside of Library, but they didn't actually try and sink any grenades onto that position. The rest of them got used towards the site, trying to enable a quick push or trying to get the Library corner clear or whatever. It just didn't feel like they actually sunk what they had in their toolbox in the right places for the defense, and Wolves look just super comfortable where they were.
Where did Varrel go from here, Mandy? It's 4 rounds in a row. It's been quite the drought for them. We were optimistic after they got the first 3 defenses in a row. And even if we just look at the player cameras, right? The glum faces. It's a rare sight for Varrel. Usually these guys are having a laugh, you know, solving a Rubik's Cube, jumping up and down. Sue, nice, whatever it is. These guys have so much energy and they've just completely deflated in the last 4 rounds.
Yeah, I think it's a testament to, I think he was speaking about earlier, the difference between experience between both these teams. I just think that Wolves in this particular matchup have shown a lot more maturity in the way that they're approaching some of these rounds. I think their problem solving is seriously outclassing what Varrel have been able to bring so far. It feels like Varrel are going for stuff that's,
oh my gosh.
Mowgli, okay, onto DD as well. That doesn't help their cause whatsoever. I think that, you know, to kind of back down on my point a little bit, yeah, it doesn't feel like Varrel have put as much thought into their attacks. It doesn't seem as measured as what Wolves are doing, and I think it's just, yeah, a testament to the lack of experience they have on this international stage.
Well, at least Varrel are trying something different here. We're seeing the Montaigne brought out for the first time, and it's some form of a rush here with Akayu moving in to try and support his teammate, but he's taken a lot of damage as a player on a vertical line as well. Okamesh trying to find something. Finally, Mowgli goes down. What a nice shot there from Okamesh, and there might be something on the menu for Varrel. Just 2 players left up. Okamesh is going to have to do something phenomenal here, and the C4 takes him down so low. It's just the man himself and Akai to salvage the round, but both of them are low HP. 2 minutes on the clock, but not a lot to work with.
Yeah, look, not the prettiest round has gone down here, has it, Dev, onto this kitchen and dining bomb site. The two remaining players of Varrel are going to choose to dial it back a little bit and recompose their way back into lobby and see what they can do next. They do have 3 flashbangs to their name, so if they want to try and enable this top floor push, maybe they could, but flashbang's not all that reliable against the Warden of P4. I think this is going to be a very tough one for Varrel to close out.
Need to isolate some ones. The Monty's not bad for that. Caillou moving up from the top of blue stairs, a stun to go over. And in comes Okamesh, ready to go on the office balcony. Looking for a kill, needs to find some ADS shots here. Both of these attackers low HP though, makes it very awkward. And out comes the E1D and some information on where this mute of Bibu may be, but Shink is there to back him up, and Bibu to lock out the final kill. Wolves are having the time of their lives here. They've just found their 5th round straight on Chalet and are just 2 away from finishing off this series.
Yeah, look, not a bad idea from Varrel. Trained up the tempo a bit, try and go in quick and fast, but I think that the Banshee has really kept them accountable here, or the passive incel that Wolves have brought out here has made sure that they're keeping the Varrel attacks at bay, really. They try to go for something quick, but they're met by players, they're met by nice crossfires on the site. I think Shinka, in particular, is doing a great job at anchoring down and hunkering onto the site with the Elder in hand, the big anchor player for this roster. They're just making sure that Varrel can't do Varrel things.
Yeah.
They seem to have a very good read on the playstyle.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, Varrel, the reason their playstyle works is because so often teams don't expect it, right? Even the first kill that round, it was a player just jumping in a window. And most of the time, people aren't watching the trophy window jump in 20 seconds into the round. But Wolves know their opponents so well. They say, okay, guys, we're playing against Varrel. We need to just do the fundamentals, counter their play style, and if we do that, we'll probably find 2 or 3 picks at the start of the round. In fact, after the first 3 rounds where Varrel found the opening pick, Wolves have found 4 of the 5 following opening picks. It has been just all Wolves all day long. They've been having a great time here on Chalet, and it just feels like a matter of time before this series is done and dusted.
I think it's exactly right. I think that as soon as Wolves switch over to the defending side, it's actually a little easier, I think, in terms of read and having a good concept and philosophy of their game, because Varrel have a very strong identity in the way that they attack. So for Wolves, I think the prep would have been a lot easier for the defending side. I think they're playing this super well, like we've been pointing out so far. For Varrel, they're looking for this attack onto the basement bomb site. The game is not over yet, despite the doom and gloom that we're spelling for them. They still have a chance to keep themselves in it as they look to try and directly attack this bomb site. First set of hard breach goes onto the main wall and putting pressure on the defenders.
That's a good line of sight breach. Unfortunately, though, those are vaultable holes, so you can't just crouch on through them. Kawa does find Mowgli, though. He's been a bit quieter here on Chalet, but hang on a second. Just look at Varrel. Okamesh is straight on inside. He finds one, looking for a second. It's a beautiful pre-fire. Okamesh is just eating him up for lunch. It's all up to Deadshot now, and Varrel have finally got themselves back into this game. 1v5 for the newest player of Wolves. I mean, this is simply impossible. He can at least find one. Baby steps to bring it back. We saw earlier this game when Shinka was in a 1v3, he still gave it a crack. He still gave it his best. And if Deadshot can make this work, I mean, that would be GG, surely. Don't think it's gonna happen though. Varrel composed, and they finally get themselves around.
Big round there from Okamesh, injecting himself in the back of the site, collecting 3 to his name, and really opening up the round for Varrel, putting themselves back in the server mentally. Gameplay, fantastic work from him.
But Okamesh just absolutely farmed. He found his opening, and every attempt at a refrag from Wolves was just too late. He read them like a book. We finally have that energy back.
That's good. It's really fantastic. I mean, you get a 3K like that, how can you not be hyped up? And when it's your big player sitting in the middle, getting all hyped up, it's just going to be so contagious to all of his teammates around him.
And to think that this is only one season with Okamesh on the squad. Just imagine what's possible for Varrel once they have a little bit more time to work with their new star player, with their new leader, as you were saying. We're just going through a quick rehost now, which, I mean, Mandy, who do you think this technical pause would favor? Because while these teams can't talk to their coaches, you can see Lelon taking some notes in the background, they can talk to each other. They can just chill out, they have a chance to have a drink of water. Who does that favor? Varrel, after getting their first round, after 5 straight for Wolves, or Wolves to then just recompose and lock in the match point?
I think it favors Wolves, to be honest. I think Varrel are a momentum team. I think that when you cut down on that momentum, it's going to be very hard for them to re-find that mojo going back into the server. The way that they play out, I think, is very tempo-based, right? You want to get in quick, you want to find opportunities, and if you're not super hyper-focused, then you can't really do that. And I think that taking a break like this will favor Wolves, who are probably thinking, well, that was a bit of a weird one, wasn't it? Get themselves back into it.
Yeah, I mean, how do you counter that, right? You just, okay, guys, just expect Okamesh to just walk in the site and kill 3 people. You always got to expect that.
I think it's tough for Wolves, right? Because you need to maintain a lot of focus in the early round to be able to counter what Varrel are doing. Keep your gun up, see what points of entry they can make it into. And when you're still setting up the site like that, a couple seconds into the round and there's a nook inside the bomb site, it's not cool.
Yeah.
That is not a good feeling if you're whoever has a shotgun in hand with their back turned, making a rotate, right? It's not fun at all. So I think for Varrel, yeah, they're definitely going to be feeling good going into this next attack.
Well, technical pause means more time for the Rubik's Cubes for Okamesh. Do you believe in the Rubik's Cube buff?
I think so. Look, I think it's like a good thing to keep you focused, right? Like downtime. You don't want to just like doze off and like forget that you're like in a game. So just,
Yeah.
keep the brain working.
I respect that. I appreciate it. And I have massive admiration for anyone that can do this, because as we established before, I'm definitely not able to do a Rubik's Cube.
I reckon you could. Look, we've got a long off season after this major, okay? We've had a long time.
Okay, so what, next broadcast we do after the major, you're telling me I have to learn how to do a Rubik's Cube before then?
Yes.
It's not going to happen. I'm telling you right.
No, it's I can totally see you being able to do this. Chat, come on, you have to agree with me. This feels like such a Dev Marta thing to be able to do. Next time I see you in the studio, which is probably for OS League, I want to see a Rubik's Cube on the desk.
Oh my
if I don't
God.
see one completed, I'm going to be disappointed.
A lot of pressure.
I can do something too. I could learn like
Okay, what are you going to learn?
a cool skill. You choose.
Can you play the recorder?
I cannot play the recorder.
I want to hear it.
Musically untalented.
Yeah, that's why I want to hear it. Hey, you said you sing, right? You're not musically untalented.
I can do a bit of singing. That's a secret though.
Yeah.
But recorder, bad. Recorder, bad. It's too hard. It's too easy to mess up that instrument.
That's the point. That's, I think, why every primary school across the world teaches recorder. It's just because it's a secret ploy to annoy the students' parents.
All right, seems like we're getting back into it. No more talking about silly talents.
Wolves are looking pretty in the zone. Like you were saying that, you don't want to doze off. And I'll be honest, like as I started that technical pause, especially in Mowgli, he just looked half asleep. Like he just looks so, I don't know if it's boredom. I don't know if he's a bit frustrated because he's individually struggling on this map. Like obviously Wolves have had a fantastic map, but Mowgli individually, aside from like a couple of rounds, has struggled to put up numbers. And I know as a big fragger, he always has such high expectations of himself. He went phenomenally on Kafe. Unfortunately now all the kills are reset, but I believe Mowgli was something like 5 and 8 coming into this round.
Sometimes it happens when you're entry play, You're the spearhead of the push, you put yourselves in dangerous positions. The roam clear is always going to be the most volatile part of the round. Sometimes you don't win those, but thankfully there are a lot of good fraggers on the side of Wolves, so even if Mowgli doesn't show up, you've got people like P4 making his impact frags and making those things work. Judge Shot has been really on fire this game. I feel like we've said his name a lot too, so I think for Wolves it's about having redundancy in your entry in your early game, and I think they've done that really well.
Yeah, it's worked for them perfectly. We saw 3 attacks, 2 defenses. That makes the 5 rounds they've got so far. Now, Varrel, as we said before, they finally got their first round after a drought of 5. And Mowgli is once again going for the spawn peak. We saw it successful previously. It's actually been a lot of spawn peaking between these two teams. That was kind of cool. Kafe actually managed to hack that Banshee. That's really high priority with the way Varrel play. The Malusi Banshees are just one of the worst things to go against.
That's exactly right, and I really like that Koa has decided to bring along the Clutch drones to actually take them out, because the passive intel so far, actually specifically the Banshees, there's not really been a whole lot of other passive intel, has really kept Varrel accountable. It wasn't in just this game, but also in Kafe as well, right? They really struggled to inject themselves into the building because their presence was so known.
Now, this bar bomb site was such a struggle for Varrel to attack last time. They got desperate. They just had people jumping in windows into frost mats, going for solo entries. It was not pretty. So what is their push this time around? Is there a little bit more structure? Is there a little bit more of a pointedness to it? As we can see, info gathering once again. And the second Banshee has been hacked. That's another high priority target for Kawa. But Rento's gone down. Another opening pick. It's Shinka.
They're trying to hit the bomb site here, looking for something a bit more direct. They don't actually want to play the minigame by clearing the top floor with utility. They're just trying to find a way in off the back of the Clutch drones, hacking out some of the Banshees, but it hasn't been successful so far. Both of their entries have gone down to Wolves players, and now with a severe man disadvantage, 5-on-3, they're still looking to claw their way in. Akayu can at least make it successful, defuse it in hand, can collect one to his name, but not the second. Shinka there for the refrag.
He almost lost that fight though, and there's no one on that game's window to try and help out. Akayu sent it very deep, and he was punished for it. Just a one-and-done player. It's not quite what Varrel need right now, and a great shot there from Mowgli. Finds Kawa's head. And not only map point, but match point is on the docket here for Wolves. DD in a 1 versus 4. We've seen a couple of these this game, and none of them have panned out for the one.
No, I'm not looking for this one to exactly pan out in his way either. Yes, Shinka's a bit low, and maybe he'll... Oh, there we go. Mowgli round in the corner. Takes down DD. Nice and easy. Barely even a reaction from these guys as well. Honestly, I just think, yeah, for Varrel, cutting corners a little bit on their attack, not actually choosing to face any direct problems. They didn't try to enter into the bomb site off the back utility. They just tried to rely on the fact that the Banshees were unreliable, and therefore we can walk into the building. And I think Wolves held them accountable to that, making sure, punishing them for, yeah, I think just taking a few steps to try and get their way into the map and into the bomb site.
Yeah, the thing is, like, I mean, I love the Varrel playstyle. I love the way that they go for these big Glaz executes, etc. You know, we've seen some really cool things from them, but when those aren't working, you need to fall back on a more conventional playstyle, and that's what Varrel seemed to be lacking, right? Like, it's the second time attacking that same bomb site where it pans out basically the same way. You have a bunch of individual plays attempted by Varrel, and just one by one, they fall like flies, and Wolves end up in a man advantage where there's just no hope of Varrel getting in. There's no actual push. It's just a lot of individual plays. Sometimes Akayu, you know, he found one, but it's a one and done. And there's no support from the rest of his team, no follow through. And now it's the end of the road for Varrel. Elimination from the tournament hinges on this round.
I think specifically the Warden being in play in this particular matchup has really shut down a complete style of attack that Varrel like to go for, right? You mentioned stuff like going for Glaz, stuff like smokes, stuff like flashbangs. Yeah, look, they might not be Ying, but there are still flashbangs. But those are made unreliable once you have Warden in play. And I think that Wolves being on the defending hub, I've juggled this operator between Mowgli and P4, pretty much making sure that it's always present. Mowgli in particular, when he was playing the Warden, was like pushing himself to be in every single engagement and being really proactive throughout the map, just making sure that for Varrel, they can't actually use their utility because they can't rely on it. And I think that's a big part of why Varrel haven't found success in even the mini executes that they're trying to do through the mid-round.
For Wolves now, we've seen the look on their faces as this drawn out and yet not very long series has led them to a position where now it's so close to them locking in the playoffs. Carwow's going to hack that Evil Eye on the site. That's really valuable there. He's actually going to be able to hack both of them. That is massive. It is successful, that second hack. So that's a massive amount of utility taken down. Is there information on Deadshot upstairs? He's so close to this nade. He just survives.
Okamesh on the other side of this seems to try and... Well, he wants to put some pressure on the bomb site, knowing that that info has been taken away. Instead, just being cautious here on this ground floor as the rest of the attackers start to shape up and formulate what their plan is going to be now. If we know Varrel, they're probably not going to sweep the top floor. They're probably not actually going to try and clear the roamers. What they do here is they look for something opportunistic, and I think they're trying it again. Rento taking down Deadshot, trying to clear out this position inside of Office, making their way and funneling through this doorway, will be shut down by the Thorn of Mowgli.
Once again, the trap operators are the kryptonite for Varrel. Every single time they fall victim to these frost mats, these thorn traps, the Malusi's Banshees. And Mowgli's read it like perfection. Okamesh, though, he's right on the front foot. He's going straight into sight. He is caught out by P4. Okawa and Akayu to salvage this game, to bring Varrel back into it. But it's a massive task ahead of them.
Top one here now, 2-on-4. Not a whole lot of tools left in their arsenal as they try and collect a pick here on the top floor, but Wolves playing a very disciplined game is not going to give anything away to Kawa, who's looking for this cutoff here on the double window. The rest of Wolves deciding to fall back, only leaving, I think it's one of their teammates inside of Master in a position that's going to be very tough to drone out. It's going to prevent Caillou from getting much more control here on this top floor with only 45 seconds left to go. Mowgli is there for the cross and leaves Kawa in a 1-on-4.
It may be an anticlimax, Mandy. It may indeed be so, but P4 will happily lock in the game. Europe have their first team qualified from Phase 1 into Phase 2, and it is Wolves. A well-earned victory, and we'll break that down after this quick break. Well, apparently we're not going to a quick break.
Yeah.
Oh well, a good shot there from Wolves. Massive game from them. I got to say that, Mandy, I'm a little bit disappointed. I felt like that game deserved more rounds. It deserved to be closer, but that is just a testament to how good this team are.
I think so as well. Varrel started to get complacent. I think towards the end of that series, Wolves really beat them out, I think, in the stamina game and outclassed them in their experience, like you said, and as a result, pull through in a best-of-3 setting. I think, yeah, Varrel towards the end of it didn't really seem like they were looking to more actively problem solve. It left Wolves in a very comfortable position where Varrel were really starting to funnel into their defenses, especially Mowgli, who I think was on some really pivotal operators there on the defense. Just felt like he had an answer for everything that Varrel were trying to do.
Yeah, a big game from Mowgli on the first map. He struggled a little bit on the second, but we just talked about Wolves as a whole, right? I think they found their formula, and I think that Deadshot has been an upgrade, right? Like they got rid of Rise, one of the oldest players still in the tier 1 level. He was always like a very supportive player. He wasn't a big fragger. And instead, they picked up a player that is realistically a gunner. Like, he's often on this entry position, and it's made space for these now more experienced players on Wolves to fulfill the more leadership roles, the calling roles. And I got to say, like, they have really stepped up into it, like P4 especially. He might not be the primary support, that's Shinka, but I just think that he's done a phenomenal job calling for this team.
I think that's exactly right. I think, look, from a Wolves point of view, you don't really need a big figurehead anymore to lead this team. All 4 players, except for Deadshot, of course, who's a bit newer, are so experienced at this point that it's not like you need someone more mature to lead the way in these international events and show them what behaviors they might need to make themselves here on the international stage relevant. It's more about actually closing out some of these games, and I think bringing along a little bit more frontline power in Deadshot to support Mowgli, especially in games where he's not doing as well on the entry. You know, you can't just rely on one big gunner to go ahead. Putting a bit of redundancy in your early game is really important. I think Wolves made a good pickup.
Absolutely, and I also got to say, like, Bibu has been a real standout player for me. This guy is one of the most experienced players in the scene for pure just career maps played, but also his international experience. We talked a little bit about that previously, but I'm just really impressed that this guy, like, he's been around the block a few times and he can still frag like crazy. I mean, you look at 9-5, the scoreline as the replay as we can currently see. Unfortunately, we did lose the scoreboard at one point, but even in the first match that Bibu played, which was actually against Varrel, that clubhouse game, he had 100% cost rating, and I think it was a 2.0 KD. Like, he's been doing so well. I really think that Wolves have found the right roster for them.
That's so cool. I mean, look at them go. Yeah, they're absolutely fired up. They know that they've made it into Phase 2 now, which is super exciting for them. I feel like they must feel like they are where they belong, I think. W7 and Wolves going through from this group, I think, doesn't really come as too much of a surprise to most of us, and I assume most of you at home as well. So I think, yeah, Wolves doing a great job to retain their composure and take their spot.
Yeah, it might be a shame for Varrel. It was exciting to watch them, what they had on the cameras and in the server, their crazy play style, the Rubik's Cubes. It was good fun, but all good things must come to an end, and Wolves are very well deserved in making it to the playoffs once again. That's 4 international events in a row, this being their 5th. What a great roster this is. And we've got an interview. Ginny, please take it away.
We do. We have an interview with Vivu, so hello. We were kind of talking about the height difference, but it's fine. Let's talk about your game so far. It was a very dominant performance across 2 maps. It feels like your best of 3s have been much more convincing than your best of 1s. Would you agree?
Yeah, I think we're better in best of 3. Best of 1 is allowed a lot of teams to ban 4 maps, so most of the time they can just play maps that they're on comfort on it. Yeah. And most of the time I think teams like don't really prepare best of 3. I mean, they are I think, but just they have a weaker map. Okay. And when you are doing the good job on analysis with your staff, your head coach and your analyst, you can just spot that and just try to pick it, or at least they can ban your best map too sometimes. Yeah. So you have more possibility to pick a good map and have like more dominance on it. So yeah, I think it was better for us best of 3 today. We played before W7M. Yeah. It was close, but they were better. We'll see next time we face them.
Okay, well, you're going to be going into phase 2, and you won EULCQ. That was an incredible performance from you guys. You had your PDS, your Koi, your Wild, and now you're here. You're going into phase 2. You're against the likes of G2. You have M&M. If they qualify as well. So how does it feel being against the top teams now, joining them on the international stage?
Feeling good. At the beginning of the stage, it was not that much predictable, if we can say that, with our stage.
Fair enough.
Yeah, we are back with the top teams. VP, they are back too. Yeah. Since a long time. G2, world champions, and maybe M&M. So yeah, I think it's a good 4 EU teams with us. And I think, yeah, playing them, it's always good. And after now, just more curious to play other, like FaZe with that change. Yes. Even Liquids. So there's a lot of good teams that we can play. So just exciting to be in phase 2 and play this team. That's
really good. You're also the only French team, so you have that representation as well. So for the French fans at home, what would you want to say to them?
In French?
In French, in English, whichever one.
Merci beaucoup pour le soutien. Ça fait plaisir. J'espère que vous êtes derrière nous. Et puis, on va tout donner pour représenter le French flag, le drapeau français. Merci beaucoup. Voilà.
Merci. So, when you have a couple of days off now, and you're going to be heading into that phase 2, and maybe, keeping your promise to the French people, what is it that you're going to be focusing on for the next few days?
What
will you be focusing on in the next few days?
Preparing next teams. I think there's a draw or something. We're just waiting on next matchup, and after we'll just take a rest a bit, but focus on these teams, trying to see what veto map we will do, what counter strat we can do, and yeah, just playing our game after that. I think the most important when you're on best of 1s in particular, you need to focus on your game and play your best. And I think after everything will be good, and we can go on phase 3 maybe.
Okay, well, I believe. Thank you for the interview, and thank you guys for tuning in. We're gonna have a break, and we'll be back.
Here today, the top 2 teams from Europe and from America.
Diffuser down with 30 seconds. Bouncy's going to find 4, but Pengu says no. Penta are your first PC Pro League champions.
Damien alone, and he drops down. Continuum are your world champions.
Penta's going to have time to get the diffuser down, and we are going to see Penta win this all. They're the world champions right now for Season 1. He's going to be spotted. Can he get the kill on a Chesnick? He grabs the Deagle kill. It's now Fabian involved to him. And a 1-on-2, Julian and Wag. Can he get it? Fabian's going to dip around the grid. He won't get it. Julio gets the frag. Black Dragons goes to the grand final.
Heads versus Black Dragon. Bootsy adds to Wag. You call them Eds, we call them champions. Eds takes year 2, season 3.
Welcome to the final of the 6th invitation.
back on stage, boys. We have this. Let's go.
Diffuser in a position where they'll have to see when the Hibana goes through. One will cover the doorway. As they start to defuse, Pengu goes for one on the Young. Can he go the second? They're often known as the best team in the world.
We are in Atlantic City. Vão tentando caçar com tudo. E o Brasil consegue levar o round. A Team Liquid vai sendo campeã da Pro League.
Close to getting the victory, and he goes down. G2 will take the win.
Sound cue to give Dan the information. Oh, he takes one down. Oh! New Empire will rise as you crown a new champion here in Milan. Two kills, three for Shepard, and the Empire strikes back. 2v3, Kedru finds one, and Hyper is there. Na'Vi just need a couple more seconds. And it's done! We have a new Pro League champion. It's Na'Vi!
Julio has the diffuser in hand. He finds the shots, but Palu cannot find the kill. Out comes the knife. Shot out by Pino!
Your winners. It is the Ninjas in pajamas.
Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Oh, I got one. So team one's up.